Cool Spot gets a bit of a bad rap. Nowadays he's remembered mostly for his terrible 7-Up video game, a game that used product placement in a way about as inconspicuous as Helen Mirren starring in a new Def Jam game. But in England, I never associated him with 7-Up. I don't think they ran the ads here, and I never played his game, or at least, I never played that game. What I did play was Spot Goes to Hollywood, a 1997 follow-up to Cool Spot. Now, you're probably thinking it's weird that I wouldn't connect Cool Spot to 7-Up after playing for a game seemingly made exclusively to promote 7-Up while cynically making bank at the same time, but the game does everything in its power to not mention 7-Up, even when showing it would make more sense than what they actually did. Take the start of the game. It's a classic setup. Sentient Bubble materialises from nowhere and travels into a movie theatre to sacrifice his life in order to buy a soda. The soda, in fact all of the soda, is called Cool Spot. This would have been the perfect opportunity to actually put the brand in. It's confusing as it is. Out of the vending machine comes a can, but also a sentient Cool Spot, the hero of the game. If the can was 7-Up, then we could infer that he came from or with the 7-Up can, but as it is now, I don't know whether its actual intended purpose is to be a vending machine for soda or tiny radical companions. It does say Cool Spot after all. I'm not exactly for product placement, but that's all this game is really, and it feels weird to not have any direct mention of the product. The only place in the entire game where 7-Up even appears is in the final secret level as a spaceship, and even then it's not exactly obvious. I only realised this when playing through for this video, and I've had the game for 19 years. It feels like watching the Smurfs, but all of the Smurfs are afraid to say Smurf, so they just stare blankly at the screen for a second or so each phrase, every now and then accompanied by a shaking, nervous smile, and all you can think about is the word Smurf because they just won't say it. It's so conspicuous by its absence. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Scared and alone, Spot tries to hide but finds himself shot through a movie projector and into the movies themselves. The game is an isometric platformer with levels tasking you to get to the makeup room portal, all whilst collecting stars which are used to unlock secret levels. Gameplay is mostly on foot with a few vehicles thrown in for good measure. You run, jump and throw little grey energy ball things through each level while collecting the spinning corpses of previous Spots who haven't fared so well. There's lots of great 2D animation in the game along with some questionable 3D stuff. Every level has at least one unique element to it. Even vehicle sections spice it up a bit, from being on minecart tracks to having the ability to switch between two vertical planes. Other than simple completion, the goal of each level is to collect 5 stars, some of which are hidden in secret areas that usually offer a different challenge. Now, some of the jumping can feel a bit off, including some stuff that just feels unfair. It doesn't happen enough to be constantly annoying, but it is always annoying when it happens, like having to poo just after a shower. So I've realised you need to pull this box. How do you think you'd do that? None of the buttons seem to work. Maybe I have to get behind it and push it? Nope. I managed to pull it for a split second, but then let go. What do I do? So it turns out you have to hold the shoot button and push the stick towards the box. A way would have made too much sense, I guess. It's not a very intuitive system to have it be the very last thing you'd try. It's like if Link would only swing his sword via voice command. Though I'm a bit worried to say that, the Switch doesn't seem all that gimmicky yet and I don't want to give Nintendo ideas. There are some very minor puzzle elements, but they're well thought out and great touches. For instance, on the level in the brig, there's a secret area with a freeze power-up needed to freeze a bird into a platform to stand on to reach a star. But if you hold on to the power-up, it can be used outside of the secret area to gain an extra life as well. It's nice. One of my favourite levels sees enemies from the levels previous running away from something, past you. It's still something to dodge and they still pose a threat, but now they're scared, not angry, and it leaves you wondering what could have terrified them so much. And then you find out. It does take away from the atmosphere a bit when his activation area is too small and you can just stare him out for as long as you want, but hey ho, it was a nice idea. You fight for a bit, giving him a series of grey energy balls to the forehead, making you the victor. You're then locked in place to receive the star, but quite often still falling bombs can hit you, even killing you if you're on 1 heart, which isn't ideal. You've got a mild headache? I'm getting actively bombed and killed. Let's call it a draw? Yeah? Honestly, despite its flaws, I think this game's great and a sorely overlooked 90s platformer. There's a lot of variety here, in terms of enemies, levels and gameplay. The game might exist for purely cynical reasons, but it's clear that regardless of that, the dev team poured a lot of love into it. The game is split into movies, with the 3 main ones being pirate, adventure and horror. There are bonus levels from other genres as well, and what's nice is that every movie has its own intro cutscene showing Spot entering the world, whether it contains 6 levels or just 1. Let's look at the 3 main ones. This is the pirate scene.
Avast our mateys as ye enter the world of pirates beware, for no one returns who has ventured in there.
Pretty standard stuff, some tension established, and we're thrust right into the action. Here's the adventure scene. Now, it's important to note that the first level here is themed around tribal life, and as such, it's incredibly important to tread carefully and treat the subject matter with respect. I'm not sure if this is a real language. I'm actually not sure if it's better if it is or if it isn't. Where blah blah is a mockery of the language, or blah blah is an accurate subtitle for a fake language made to mock. It might also be better if all the dialogue was in a made up language and the pirate world wasn't English. It's one of those things that has so many weird factors going into it that it's hard to tell just how offensive it is. Like Michael Jackson in blackface. This is the horror cutscene. I assume the cutscene team never communicated with the gameplay team and made this assuming the game was targeted at children with severe constipation issues. Creepy ghosts, a slowly opening crypt coffin, and a blood-curdling scream. I was a wussy kid. Often I go back to media from my childhood and laugh at how dumb I was. I was scared of the rain in Dumbo. This one though, I've got to back Tiny Me up. It's freaky as hell, and whilst I appreciate the game mixes up environments and gameplay, I don't think it should be expected for it to take a massive, shattering tonal shift from light-hearted fun to heart-racing terror exclusively for one cutscene. Imagine if Toy Story took a small intermission from the regular story halfway through to show Andy crying at his dad's grave, then jumping straight back into the mystery of whether or not there's a snake in Woody's boot. That's the kind of blindsiding turmoil this caused. Anyway, as per usual, the levels here are varied and interesting, from a haunted house to a creepy graveyard and hunchback-infested bell tower. But then you get to this laboratory and find this guy. GTA 5 got a lot of flack for letting you torture somebody in a video game, but at least in that game there was a purpose to it other than to get sick air. You willingly torture them, and for what? To use them to acquire meaningless discs, then leave them to rot and die. I didn't know Coolspot was going for an allegory on capitalism. I'm actually not sure what's worse, the ones you torture then leave, or the ones you torture then leave to be burned alive. All while retaining that trademark Coolspot cool. Look at him. It's probably too dark in there to be wearing sunglasses, but god damn, the beautiful bastard does it anyway. I think they need to edit all the guides. The other scary thing about this level is that it's auto-scrolling. Normally this would be fine, but here the boundary of where you can run is locked to the horizontal plane at the top right edge of the screen, meaning there can be quite a lot of inaccessible space to the left. At its worst, this can get you killed when you try jumps you should be able to make but can't. Part shockingly realist commentary on aspirations in a modern world, much larger part poor game design. Probably a bad trade-off. Eventually you'll reach the end and be expelled from the movie world. Other spots are cheering you on, so it must be a cinema for spots, which also sells spots in vending machines, which would sort of be sweet if they were like rented friends. Though saying that, it now sounds a lot like an escort service. But even then, Spot is tiny in the vending machine, implying it's a regular sized machine for humans, yet the chairs are set up for tiny Spot creatures. So they sell escorts, but make the buttons inaccessible to any normal sized Spot. Perhaps this is why they need bubbles to order for them. It's a very strange world this game is set in, with places made entirely for Spot creatures, but all still created at human size. I may be looking too deeply into the lore of 7-Up. The point is, the Spots are happy, you're happy, and let's be honest, Spot never wanted to go into the movies anyway. He would have done anything to get out. But you see that you didn't get 100% completion, so you jump back in. This ending is fine. It's happy. Everyone is happy, but it still lets you know that there's an even better reward for going back and completing everything. So you go back, collect every star, and you unlock the true ending. In this one, Spot comes back out of the movies only to be confronted, chased, and presumably, eventually, killed by several enemies he struggled to fight one-on-one before. The end. Ah. What? Isn't the effort worth anything? How can it just be objectively worse? Your princess is in another castle. Several struggles later, sorry Mario, your princess isn't in this castle. Your princess isn't in any castle. She was murdered as soon as she was taken, and the whole kidnapping ruse was just to lure you out here in the hopes that you would also meet a painful death. The end. This game is a weird one. It's varied but not cohesive. There's clear goals to each level, but no clear overarching goal to work towards, at least story-wise. It at times looks wonderful, and at others looks downright awful. It's a game based on a very basic character cynically designed to shill soda to children, and yet it's really good. Sure, it has its issues, but it's actually good. As is the custom in games journalism, I'll leave you with an energy drink naming competition based analogy. Red Bull are running an online competition to name their new low sugar energy drink. You think you have the perfect name in Red-ish Bull. Boy are you good. When you open the website, it occurs to you that perhaps it isn't cool enough. Maybe Rad Bull would be better. Doesn't really get across the low sugar messaging though. You settle for a compromise. Radish Bull. Sounds a bit like it's made from a root vegetable, but you're hoping the low sugar, high coolness message will still be easy to get. You enter the name and the online voting begins. After several weeks, they're closed. Your name places 9,702nd. Fortunately, every name above you was disqualified on account of either being Harambe or Hitler did nothing wrong. Radish Bull is crowned the winner. A few months on, and you start to see Radish Bull pop up around stores. You buy one, and it's alright. Still, it feels good to see it about. You know that really the competition was a way for a massive company to save on branding and market research / focus groups, but still, it feels good. You feel good. You're glad you did it. That's what Spot Goes to Hollywood is. It's the fun energy drink entitling contest slightly marred by corporate greed of video games. Thanks for watching, guys. It does look like you didn't get the secret star though. Come back with that and you can see the true ending.